Hopefully not on yourself. Good morning, millionaire. Let's go. Let's go. Happy Monday, everybody. TGIM. That means thank God it's Monday. When we say TGIF, we be like the grind includes Friday. But when we be like TGIM, we say it the way they say it. We be like, thank God it's Monday. You know what I'm saying? Thank God it's Monday. I don't know why we live in a society where everybody want to thank God it's Friday. I mean, is your life that horrible that you setting up your whole goals just to make it to the weekend where you can, sit around and distract yourself from your horrible life? Why not go ahead and do what it takes to create a better life? And one advantage you got, if you're watching me, is you're an entrepreneur. I know that to be true because nobody but an entrepreneur would be crazy enough to wake up with me 7:25 a.m. every single day, Monday through Friday, just to learn something. Right now, though, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to reach out to an entrepreneur or three and then send them this broadcast and then come back and comment done. Yeah, good morning, Vanessa. What's up? Good morning. Good morning. Let's go. Let's go. Go back and share this with three different entrepreneurs and then come back and comment done. So I know it's real. You know what I mean? So I know it's real. So I know who really got my back. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you go and share this with a few people. Ashley, that means Tulsa, Oklahoma, checking in. Miss Shirley Nixon is checking in. That means Hampton Roads, Virginia is in the house. Let's get it. Let's get it. Share this with a couple entrepreneurs because this is a concept that a lot of people talk about, but I'm not sure if a lot of people understand it. What y'all know about 80-20 law? Somebody, thank you for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me, Queen. I ain't even calling on the live line yet. I'm out here tripping. Oh, my granny called me last night. I got to call Granny. I got to check in on Granny. Appreciate that, Precious.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. Hello, this is Les Brown, and you're in the right place at the right time.
Word.
Because we're going to bring the millionaire out of you. Just hold on.
Let's go.
Please announce yourself. Please enter your PIN followed by the pound or hash. If you do not know...
Hold up. I messed that whole thing up. We're about to do this one more time. Here we go. Digital Daryl in the house. Let's go. Miami, Florida.
You have something special. You have...
Lord have mercy. They put me through a... I appreciate it, Chris.
Greatness in you. Hello, this is Les Brown, and you're in the right place at the
Shakayla,
right
what
time
up?
because we're going to bring
Julian,
the
let's go.
millionaire out of you. Just hold
See, my
on.
man Mark held me down. Appreciate that, Mark.
Thank you. Please announce yourself.
Okay. Welcome to the family, new grandson. Let's get it. Let's go.
All participants are muted. Entry and exit tones are off.
Yeah. So good morning, millionaires. Good morning, millionaires. I hope everybody's feeling good. And I hope you say that to yourself and mean it. You know what I mean? I hope you say that to yourself with a sense of faith, a sense of expectation. I hope you say that to yourself with a knowledge that you know it's on the way. It's bought and it's paid for and it's on the way. Do me a favor and share this right now with three entrepreneurs. Whenever you sow seed, you schedule a harvest. That'll be a good one for you to type in your comments. Whenever you sow seed, you schedule a harvest. That's a good thing to write in your notes. Whenever you sow seed, you schedule a harvest. Appreciate that, Coach Ashley. Appreciate that, Mark. Comment done after you go and share this with three different people that you know. Come back and comment done. Is that too much to ask, y'all? Can you make sure you put this out there? Because this is a concept I hear a lot of people talk about, but not a lot of people understand it. Y'all ever heard of Pareto's principle? I know y'all have because y'all millionaire minded. That's what I'm saying. Share this with a few people that need this. Sometimes you hear them call it the principle of least effort. Sometimes you hear them refer to it as a principle of imbalance. Or if you're reading something old, they might call it the law of the vital few. Sometimes you'll hear them say the law of the vital few and the trivial many. Or sometimes we'll refer to it as the more with less principle. It's called 80-20 law. And basically what it's saying to you is that it's always a minority of causes. It's always a minority of inputs or efforts that create the majority of the results, the majority of the outputs. the majority of the rewards. Now, it's not like this is hard and fast to every single situation. This is a scientific theory that's based on all kinds of empirical data that they've gathered through the years. Sometimes the percentages are 99 and 1, or sometimes it might even be 50-50. They might not add up to 100. For instance, only 2% of search engines log 96% of the whole search engine market, right? Or fewer than 10% of drinkers account for over half the liquor sold, right? Or less than 0.25% of mobile kind of like video gamers are responsible for half of all the gaming revenue. So it's not always 80-20, but it always is a principle of least effort. It's always a principle of imbalance. It's always the vital few that you want to compare to the trivial many. All of this comes from a guy named Vilfred Pareto. He's an economist from Italy. You know, many of y'all know I just now got back from Italy. And what he observed was that 20% of the pea pods in his garden produce 80% of the produce, 80% of the peas. And when he started to apply that same logic to land distribution in his market out in Italy, what he found was that 80% of the land was owned by 20% of the population. Somebody give it to me in the comments, 80-20 law, 80-20 law. You know, later on, this economist from Harvard University, he rediscovered this rule right after World War I. And it's a life changer. A guy named Richard Koch wrote all about 80-20 law in his best-selling book, The 80-20 Principle. This that I'm about to give you is really, a lot of it is inside his book, but I just wanted to share it with you this morning because I feel like this could be a game changer. I dare you, type some of these in the comments. I'm going to run through them kind of quickly, but if one grabs you and you're like, wow, or you want to test it out, write it in your notes or write it in the comments. Everybody with me? But before we get into that, can I get everybody to send this to 3 different entrepreneurs and then come back and text done after you with it? Yeah, coach. Yeah, coach. He's like in education. If you're listening on the winner's hotline, my man, Coach Carvel, said in education, we say 20% of the students cause 80% of the dysfunction. It's true. It's true. What's up, Samaya? Good morning, millionaire. Let's go. So anybody else got any real wild examples of 80-20 law? Yeah, appreciate that, Jess. Chi-Town in the house. Yeah, Candace. Good morning. Good morning. So this is a real thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through some really cool examples for you. Jot these down in your notes. Put them in the comments so that you lock it into your subconscious. Let's run through a few of these. So did you know that 80% of a company's output is usually produced by 20% of its workers? That's really interesting. You could probably apply that to your team if you have a home-based business. Do you notice 80% of your volume is coming from 20% of your team? What about this? 80% of social media shares are by 20% of the posts. Isn't that interesting? What about this? 80% of software glitches are caused by 20% of the bugs. What about that? What about how 80% of search engine visits involve 20% of keywords? Think about that. You know, there's another fact that says 80% of the promotions are given by 20% of the bosses, you know, or 80% of the budget overruns are caused by 20% of the expenses. That means you could change your whole budget just by looking at the 20% that keeps on being an irritant, that keeps on being the thing that makes you go overboard. What if I told you 80% of your success comes from 20% of your ideas? Boy, my team could testify to that one. They know one thing about Hazik. He always got an idea, and a lot of them fail. A whole lot of them fail. But when they work, we got us one. You know what I'm saying? I hope you are approaching your life like that. Not keep on staying in the same circle of sameness that we call comfort zone, but actually stepping out your comfort zone into the growth zone. Hopefully you ain't scared to make no mistakes. What if I said 80% of the public uses 20% of their computer's features? Isn't that interesting? What if I told you 80% of crimes are committed by 20% of the criminals? Isn't that interesting? What if you looked at your follow-up list and you recognize that 80% of sales are from 20% of your clients? What if you looked at your numbers and you noticed that 80% of the project's value that gets achieved is from the first 20% of effort, right? 80% of the project value is achieved with the first 20% of effort. That's really interesting. What about this? 80% of your knowledge is used 20% of the time. Any of these standing out to you? Any of these standing out to you? What if I said 80% of sales are produced by 20% of a company's products or services? Can I get a witness? 80% of stress is caused by 20% of stressors. Interesting. 80% of the value perceived by the customer relates to 20% of what an organization does. You know, it's really interesting. Yesterday in service, I heard him say that, you know, the caterpillar does all the work, but the butterfly gets all the publicity. That's cold, right? That's crazy. What if we looked at it and we discovered that 80% of the wealth is owned by 20% of the population? Does that ring true to you? Does that ring true to you? Yeah. That's exactly right, Nathan. That's exactly right. 80% of the crime is committed by 20% of the people. It's really interesting. Yeah. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody that's sharing it. Don't forget, when you get out there and share it with 3 different people, come back and comment done, so we know it's real. You know what I mean? So we know it's real. We want to know who got our back, baby. All right, check it out. What if we said 80% of negotiation concessions occur in the last 20% of negotiations, right? 80% of the population only finds 20% of it attractive. What if I told you 80% of the sleep quality occurs in 20% of the sleep? Y'all know what we talking about. You wake up restless. Last night I woke up and I was just hot, you know. Then I turned on the AC and then I was cold. There was a moment in there when I got my real quality sleep, but it was only 20% of it. Isn't that interesting? 80% of your results are caused by 20% of your thinking and planning. Isn't that interesting? What about this one? 80% of family problems are caused by 20% of the issues. That's pretty interesting too, right? What about 80% of retail sales are produced by 20% of a store's brands? Now we're going to get into what you should do with this information in a minute. I'm going to give you like 2 more, because I said I was going to give you 25 of them, right? 80% of website traffic comes from 20% of content. What about this? 80% of new customers are generated by 20% of new offerings. 80% of muscle gain is generated by 20% of the repetitions. 80% of complaints are generated by 20% of customers. Is that a fact? Is this starting to ring true to anybody out there? Now let's look at the inverse. Let's look at the backwards of it, right? Before I get into that, I want to remind everybody this weekend's Kaizen Academy is going to be all about building your brand. We're doing part 2 of building your brand. We sent out a letter this weekend and it was a complete snafu. A lot of miscommunication in that. I take the blame for it. But this particular Saturday is when the next Kaizen Academy is. And it's going to be all about the second part of that building your brand course, building your brand so that your brand builds your business. Some of you know I just did a whole masterclass on how to become an authority. Authority doesn't mean you're famous. Authority means that in your world, you're looked at as somebody that everybody comes to solve their problems, right? So that's what we're getting into this particular weekend. This Saturday, 7 p.m. is the next edition of the Kaizen Academy. And I hope you guys are ready for that. All right, let's continue this bad boy. You ready? All right, so let's do the inverse. What if I told you 20% of your wardrobe is worn 80% of the time? See, now we going 20 to 80. Watch this. 20% of farmers produce 80% of the world's agriculture. Is that wild? 20% of your rug has 80% of its wear and tear. 20% of your phone apps get 80% of the usage. Check this out. 20% of your food choices cause 80% of your weight gain. Y'all stop me when I tell a lie. 20% of your TV channels are watched 80% of the time. 20% of the population implements 80% of their creative ideas. Huh? 20% of your thoughts lead to 80% of your ideas. This is why they say, be careful what you think, because your thoughts are the ancestors of your ideas. What are you feeding your brain? Because if you're feeding your brain trash, then your ideas are going to be trash. Does that make sense? And then your life is going to be trash. Does that make sense? Especially relative to God's plan for you. Again, this weekend in service, Bishop Bronner said something wild. He was like, staying a seed don't please God. Staying a seed don't please God. You got to bloom. You got to bloom. Is that making sense? 20% of people in your life consume 80% of your time. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? 20% of planning causes 80% of a project's success. Does that make sense? Everybody with me? What if we said that 20% of your time leads to 80% of your happiness? What if I told you it's a scientific fact that 20% of cities have 80% of the populations? Interesting, right? 20% of shareholders own 80% of the customer stock. Does that make sense? Y'all with me? Everybody with me? Somebody say 80-20 law. Am I going to? Yeah, it's crazy. That means we can literally throw. Appreciate that, Kiki. Appreciate that, Daryl. Okay. Let me go through here and find everybody. Appreciate that, Marose. Let's go. Appreciate that, Shakayla. Appreciate that, Cindy. Appreciate that. Let's go. All right. So what do we do with this information? You're like, Hazik, this is a lot of numbers. My head is spinning. What do we do with this? 20% of the population causes 80% of the crashes, right? That's crazy. 20% of computer bugs will stop 80% of the computer crashes. 20% of doctors, lawyers, and engineers commit 80% of the malpractice. 20% of your experiences produce 80% of your happiness. I could go on and on and on and on and on. 20% of your workday yields 80% of the productivity. 20% of companies cause 80% of the population. 20% millionaires of patients use 80% of the healthcare resources. So what are we supposed to do with this? I'm going to give you some insights. I want you to write this down. Hopefully I've proved to you that 80-20 law is a real thing. What else is interesting about 80-20 law is that it's a fractal number. So that means if I take that 20, it's also going to be, a 4% that causes 16%. It's a fractal number, they call it. So where am I going with this? Here's some insights that I want you to write down in your notes. Hopefully this will be helpful. Check it out. First one is life is nonlinear, right? This whole life thing is imbalanced, and some forces are just plain old more important. Some stuff is just more important. Somebody say that. Some things are more important. I know that sounds simple. You're like, Hazik, that ain't your deepest quote I ever heard. I'm going somewhere with this. Trust me. Check it out. People who employ 80-20 thinking are really good at achieving happiness. That's a good takeaway. What about this? Effective 80-20 thinkers are the masters at prioritizing and delegating the rest of it. As you begin to think with 80-20 law, you start to pick tasks with the highest reward that require the least effort. You're going to stop making life so hard for yourself, right? Pick tech, in your business, maybe those are your income producing activities. Last night, my best friend was like, my business partner, he was like, hey, check it out. You know, activity is way different from productivity. And he was breaking it down. He was like, activity is you make a post, activity is you start scrolling, seeing what everybody else done posted. Maybe you find something else cool to post. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just get distracted by this cat fighting this mouse, or maybe you get distracted by these guys getting in a brawl outside a bar. Social media, they can post anything. It ain't like you need a license to be an influencer, right? But what's productivity? Posting that thing, having a set agenda where you're going to jump in their inbox after they like the post and begin to create some impact, begin to create some income, begin to create some change in other people's lives, which leads to change in your own. That's productivity. But you're never going to get there if you don't start thinking a little bit differently. Check it out. Another insight is that life-changing insight requires consistent, high-value thinking. It requires consistent, high-value reflection. That's what we learned from 80-20 law, right? Another insight that we should get is that if we want to solve problems, let's remove some of the impediments, right? The World Wide Web removed impediments like distance. Fast food restaurants removed impediments like waiters, right? And that leads us to another really big insight. Laziness is a human trait, and it should be capitalized on. Another insight, another really strong insight that we can get from 80-20 law is that focus increases individuality. And what's more human than being an individual? What's more human than being unique? That's why we teach that you should niche. You should niche down. I know your company sells everything. I get it. I know your company has something that could help anybody. I get it. But what you want to do is niche. Hold on just a second, y'all. Yeah. So here's another insight. Never sacrifice time or love for money. That's a big insight right there. Another one is do more with less. Do more with less, not more with more. Huh? What about this insight? If 80-20 law is true, if we can go ahead and allow ourselves to believe that this 80-20 law is a real phenomenon, it means that we need to move quickly and we need to start doubting our doubts, right? It means that procrastination and overanalysis is sapping energy that we could use to create that 80% of results. Is that a fact? Another insight is that successful people identify value and adapt themselves to reality, right? To reality. And reality ain't the way things should be. Reality ain't how we wish it was. Reality is how things are. Millionaires, I dare you, focus on capitalizing on that 20% spike of individuality so that you can be a rock star. So you can be a rock star. I dare you look at the fact that 80-20 law says that success is caused by steady application and sudden insight. That success comes from you jumping out there, and maybe you work, a much smaller amount of time on the nonsense and focus most of your time on that 20% of the things you do that really lead to success. What is that 20%? I dare you write it down. Like, what are the things that you do every day that actually get you closer to your dream? Is it scrolling? Is it watching TV? Is it kicking it on the phone for hours with this person is constantly complaining or constantly gossiping? Here's another insight, y'all. Enjoyment predicts success. Somebody write this in the comments. Misery ain't sustainable. Misery ain't sustainable. Somebody last night was asking, they were like, should I work my business using Zoom calls? Should I do one-on-one belly to belly? Should I do Starbucks? What should I do, right? And I was like, man, what you should do is work your business the way you like working your business. I don't care if you have a landscaping company or you sell some kind of weight loss supplement. I don't care if you go door to door selling vacuums or if you're selling medical equipment to hospitals. The way you should work your business is the way you get the most enjoyment from it, because misery ain't sustainable. Millionaires, I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you got something out of this that you can consider valuable. I hope every morning you do it, right? But I want you to understand this morning that knowledge equals power, but applied knowledge equals way more. Even knowledge is power because knowledge is awareness. And now, at least you see it coming, right? But what I'm saying to you is that become self-employed early as possible, right? Employ net value creators, right? Outsource everything that ain't in your core competencies. Learn from the best, because this is how you leverage 80-20 law. You know, speaking of those 20% of activities that, yeah, misery ain't sustainable. Misery ain't sustainable. So check it out. What I want you to do now, since we were talking about 20% of the activities that can lead to 80% of the effectiveness, I believe one of those activities is saying your affirmations. I believe you should say affirmations with sort of a now kind of faith. You know, when we all know that scripture, you know, but they always ignore the word now, right? They always, if you look at it, it starts with now. Faith is the substance, et cetera, and so forth, right? Now, what is now faith? You know, that's why we say, we don't say, I am a millionaire next year this time, you know, because tomorrow you'll still be saying next year this time. Next month, you'll still be saying next year this time. So we say now, right? Now, I am now so happy and grateful, right? I am so happy and grateful that I am now. What about now faith? You know, I need to do a whole training on that. Like how your boy Noah had now faith. Him building an ark in the middle of the desert, and they'd never seen rain. This man was 450 years old, never seen rain. They come up to him, they like, why are you doing this? And you know, back then it didn't rain. The dew would come up from the ground and then fall back down in water. It didn't never no rain, you know? But he heard God's voice so clearly that he's building an ark in the middle of a desert. Do you have the kind of now faith to be an ark building madman? I believe that's what we're supposed to gain from that story. Or, you know, David versus Goliath. Everybody's like, that fool too big. He 10 feet tall. You know, second tallest man around Saul came up to his shoulders. You know what I mean? You know, but here's David, you know, fighting this cat. Goliath, he's 10 feet tall, 6 fingers, 6 toes. You know, he too big to hit. David, like, he too big to miss. Huh? He too big to miss. There's no way I can miss this fool. You know what I mean? What a big target. That's now faith. All right. But I can show you better than I can tell you. Call in right now. We're about to get started. You ready? That's right. That's right. My man Eli, like they always say, people say misery loves company, but so does happiness. You always be like, misery loves company. Greatness minds its business. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it took him 120 years, actually. I think it took him 120 years. Let's apply a little bit of now faith. Come on, Shakayla. Come on, Shakayla. She said, if I sent this to your inbox, it's because I saw the millionaire in you. Ooh, that's love right there. All right, so let's get it. Repeat after me. Say it like you mean it. Here we go. Here we go. Everybody with me? Here's the affirmation line. Here we go. I am so happy and grateful